Hey guys, it's Veritotem back again after a little bit of a longer hiatus than normal, and this special occasion is the reason why. It is my first foray into the live gameplay video scene, so today you'll be watching a best 2 of 3 match between me and a buddy of mine playing the demo decks from the Cyberpunk tradingcardgame.com website, those print and plays that are available to play with right now. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into the games, guys. Alright, so in this game I'm going first. I roll my d4 and get a 2. Draw my card. And I sell an After Party at Lizzie's. So yeah, you can see I am playing the Merc deck. I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 to call a legend, which is Jackie Wells. And then I pass the turn to my opponent. He rolls his gig for turn. Alright, he's going to sell Over the Edge. And then he's gonna play Industrial Assembly to increase that gig from an 8 to a 12. Get it to max value form, and allows him to draw a card because he has one that's over 8. Or I guess 8 or over. He spends 3 more eddies and he plays Swordwise Hustle to the board, giving him an attacker to threaten a gig steal next turn. So I am on the defense here. I go ahead and ready my stuff, draw a card, roll my gig for turn. I'm going to go ahead and sell a Reboot Optics. I spend 4 eddies. And I'm going to play a Delamain Cab to the field. Do get the Jackie proc to go off. Since Delamain was my first blue unit for the turn, I get to reduce a gig. So I'm going to reduce my d4 down to a min gig, and allows me to draw a card thanks to Jackie. And I'm pretty much going to pass here at this point. There's really nothing else I can do. He goes ahead and he rolls his gig for turn after readying his eddies and getting his card. And he is going to go ahead and play a second Industrial Assembly, bumping that up to 8 and drawing another card. So he's gotten some good use out of those cheap programs. And he's going to go ahead and he has another one, but he's selling this one this time. So he's gone through all 3 of the ones he had in his deck. He spends 2 for Corpo Security to get him a blocker on the board, so I'm already in kind of big trouble here. He's got an attacker that'll be able to go through and a blocker to stop my reprisal attack. So he'll be ahead on eddies, and then he'll be able to stop me from stealing something after this turn here. So yet again, I'll be on the defensive. And alright, he spends 1 more to put Manus Blades on Swordwise Hustle. This is a great combo, one of my favorites. Satori I like more because of the double drawing effect, but this is still very potent. He's going to now be able to draw a card when he makes an attack. He also spends an eddy to call a legend, so he gets Saburo. And he swings with Swordwise Hustle and draws a card. And steals a gig. So yeah, things aren't looking too good for me at this point. He's got a good attacker on the board, which is giving him card draw. He's got a blocker. And I don't really have too much. I do this somewhat retroactively in response to his attack. I just forgot to trigger it. But this is me calling a legend with the 1 eddy I had open, which I pulled Victor. And from the 5 cards that I drew, I managed to get a Kiroshi Optics and Dying Knight. I bottom deck the rest of the cards and add those 2 to my hand. And then play goes to my turn. And thanks to that play last turn, I now know where my V is. So I need to sell something here in order to call V, and then I would have enough eddies to have V go solo and make attacks this turn, giving me 2 attackers to pretty much clear out his board. So this ended up working out for me pretty well. Yeah, so I sell Kiroshi Optics here, and now I have 6 eddies. 1 to call my last legend, which is V, Corpo Exile, and then I have 5 that I can spend to have her go solo and attack immediately, along with Delamain Cab, clearing his board of threats and putting me on the offensive and him on the defensive stance going forward. So, goes to show the power of having go solo legends, because I went from having nothing to answer his stuff to now wiping out his board. Delamain Cab I attack with first before making my play, and he spends his blocker to absorb the attack. I call my legend V, and I have enough eddies here to spend, and V has now gone solo. Now I have a second attacker. And because it's the first blue unit I played this turn, Jackie's ability activates, and I can reduce the die I have down from 3 to 1 and draw a card. And then I'm going to attack his Swordwise Hustle with V and defeat it. And so there you go. I now have 2 attacking units on the board and he has none. And things are looking really good for me, even though he has gig advantage. So he's gonna have to scramble here to make something happen. He does have Goro. He can call and have go solo as well to kind of keep up with me, although V is stronger innately than Goro. He's gonna sell Corporate Surveillance. So if he gets lucky on a call, he could do the same play, but then, like I said, it's just gonna die, or he can crash Goro into my V because he does have Saburo on the field, so they would both have equal power. So if he wanted to remove my V from the field at the cost of his own go solo legend, he can do so. And that might be the best play to make, honestly, at this point. I don't know what other units he has in his hand, but there's really not much else he can do at this point, because if he does go solo with Goro and defeats Delamain Cab, I'm just going to defeat his Goro with my V. So he does call a legend, and he does get the Goro call there, which is very lucky for him. And he's going to copy my move from last turn and spend all of his eddies to go solo with Goro. And then Goro is going to swing. Alright, he's going to swing Goro now and target V, knocking them both out of the game. Technically, they could have just been removed from the trash piles, but there's nothing that we could do to bring them back anyway, so they're essentially out of the game. And the turn shifts to mine. I go ahead and roll my gig. I'm going to sell Kiroshi Optics here. And so now is the time for my comeback here to reclaim some of these lost gigs of mine and make plays to get myself in a board state advantage over him, to where I'll simply overwhelm him with numbers. And I'm going to spend 4 to play my Psycho Squad card, which is a very strong unit to have to deal with. He is the first blue unit I play this turn, so Jackie activates again, so I'm going to reduce the gig down by 2, just to keep my street cred lower than it normally would be. Not going to draw me a card, but it is going to lower that. And I spend 2 to play Bombus. And now I'm set up quite well. I have 2 attackers and a blocker on the field. I'm going to go ahead and steal a gig with Delamain Cab. And his ability will activate to where at the end of my turn, I get to ready an Eddy. So now I have 1 on the board ready to be spent on something, which is pretty much going to be nothing because there's nothing I can spend it on. My opponent's turn now, and he is... Alright, so my opponent spends 3 here, and he's playing Field Operator. He does have even street cred, so he gets to draw a card thanks to Field Operator's effect. There's really not much else he can do here. He's gonna spend 1 to call his last legend Yorinobu. And he passes the turn. I draw my card, ready my stuff, and roll a gig die. And at this point in the game, it's looking like it's going to be a victory for me. I just have too much on the board for him to stop at this point. I sell a Kuroshi Optic, so I have plenty of eddies to work with. Going forward, I have 2 good attackers and a blocker on the field. And I also have gig advantage now. I'm going to spend 2 eddies here. I'm going to throw a second blocker out, so I have 2 secondhand Bombus in play. So I have that late game wall strat going, which is incredibly powerful and pretty much will seal my victory, I think. I spend 2 more to play Evelyn Parker just in case I need another attacker. I'll have to buffer up with some gear for her to steal gigs, but I can always just attack with her to get some card draw if I need it. She is the first blue unit I played, so Jackie Wells' effect goes into motion. And now I'm declaring my attackers to target his gigs, so my Psycho Squad steals 1. And my Delamain Cab steals a second gig. And Delamain Cab's ability activates. I get to ready another Eddy at the end of my turn. So I pass the turn to my opponent. And I am threatening a game win here if he cannot steal a gig from me, which would be almost impossible because I have 2 blockers on the field. Alright, so he's spending 1 to play Mantis Blades and attach that to it's on the Field Operator. He plays 2 Corporate Surveillance to spend both of my blockers, leaving myself wide open to an attack. Now he could use this to steal a gig from me and prevent me from winning next turn. However, it's just going to be destroyed my next turn through combat anyways, and he just wants to swing into my Delamain Cab to defeat it. However, I decide to just go ahead and spend 2 eddies to play a Reboot Optics to protect it from being defeated in combat. So that's pretty much going to be it. I mean, yeah, I just had the early momentum. Well, not early, I just got the momentum when I called in V. So yeah, this one's going to be a good game here. I just got that big swing in momentum when I called V and started to attack, and pretty much just kept that momentum going for the rest of the game. And there's the friendly handshake, and that is a good game, guys. That is the first one in. Alright, so the first live game went pretty well. There are a couple of things that could have gone differently. Could have played better in certain areas. He might have been able to as well. I know for using that overlay, there are a couple of things that I missed, and trying to get the timings down for a lot of that stuff is a bit of a challenge right now. I'm not used to using that tool yet, but it'll get better over time. So bear with me on that. Let's go ahead and look at game 2 now and see how that one turns out. All right, so my rival is going first this time. All right, he's going to sell corporate surveillance. He's going to spend 2 to play corpo security to get an early blocker on the board. It goes to my turn now. I draw a card, roll my gig die. I'm going to sell Mandibular Upgrade here. And I'm going to spend 4 eddies to play an early game Psycho Squad. So Psycho Squad early on is very powerful. It's a big unit to try to deal with in the early game. A lot of removal does not affect Psycho Squad, so it's going to be tough for him to deal with. Passes to my opponent here. He's already talking about how it's going to be really hard with the print and play decks to deal with the Psycho Squad card. There's really not much in terms of removal in these demo decks, and what he does have cannot affect it, unfortunately. But, we'll see what he manages to do to deal with it. He's going to sell an industrial assembly here. Alright, he's spending 3 eddies to play the other vanilla unit, Emergency Atlas, to the field. And he's going to spend an eddy to call a legend. And he gets Saburo Arasaka as his first legend called. And he's going to pass his turn. Goes to me. I ready, draw, roll a gig die. I'm selling After Party at Lizzie's here. I'm spending 4 eddies to put a second Psycho Squad into play. So if he thought he had problems with dealing with one of these, good luck dealing with 2. I'm so sorry, man. Just the luck of the draw, I guess. I'm going to spend my 5th eddy to equip my newly played Psycho Squad with Mandibular Upgrade. So now, not only do I have a very powerful attacker, 2 potentially, but I also have one that can be a huge wall for him to have to climb over to steal any of my gigs, so that Emergency Atlas is going to have a hard time attacking over that blogger. I do swing with my first Psycho Squad, and he's going to spend 1 to call a second legend, and he gets Yorinobu. And he's debating on if he wants to block that or let it go through here. And he does let it go through, so I steal a gig. So he's in a pretty bad spot at the moment. The saving grace is he does know where his Goro Takamura legend is, so he can call that to the field and attack with it to have a strong 7 power unit to get over my Psycho Squads, but we'll just have to wait and see what he chooses to do to deal with those big units I have on the board currently. He's going to spend 1 to call Goro, and if he has enough eddies, he could have called him, but he went for the Goro unit instead. So the unit is very powerful. All 3 legends on his side of the field are called and face up. So now that Goro will have 10 power during his turn, plus 4 for Goro's own ability, but Saburo gives him an additional plus 1 power. So he has a very huge unit on his board while it's his turn. The downside is, of course, he goes back down to 4 power when it's my turn, so I can easily take him out with one of these Psycho Squads. But that will be his turn, and it shifts back to me. I go ahead and roll my gig for turn. And thankfully here I'm rolling pretty low for my gig dice value, so that kind of works out for me here. He's rolling a bit lower than me. It'd be nice to have min gigs like that, but that's quite alright. I'm going to swing with Psycho Squad to target his gig area again, and this time he decides to use Corpo Security to block the attack, and is defeated as a result. At this point I am spending 2 eddies. I'm going to play Evelyn Parker to the field. And then I'm going to spend 1 to call a legend, and I call Jackie. Would have been nice to call and get him before playing Evelyn, so I can get his gig manipulation effect off and draw a card. So that was a slight misplay, but that's alright. I mean, I couldn't know that it was going to be Jackie I called, but, you know, it's kind of how it goes sometimes. Alright, so he draws, he rolls his gig die for turn, and now he's got a big 10 power Goro Takamura to threaten my board state with, and he has the other Goro in the back row that he can call and attack with as well. So he has 3 potential attackers right now threatening my board, and I only have 1 blocker who can stop only the Emergency Atlas. The other 2 will defeat it in combat. So it's looking pretty dicey for me at this state, but we'll just have to see what my rival decides to do during his turn here. So he's spending 1. He's putting Satori onto his Emergency Atlas to bump it up a little bit in power, and when he wins combat, he gets to draw a card. So now it's at a 5 power. It's still weaker than my Psycho Squads, but he could buff it up even more if he wished. He's gotten over the edge here, which he has sold, and he is spending 5 to go solo with Goro Takamura. So, like I said before, he now has 3 attackers on the board, 2 of which are very beefy, and one of them can get him some extra cards drawn if he defeats any of my units. He is swinging his Goro Takamura into my first Psycho Squad that was spent, and it is defeated. I choose not to block it. He is attacking me directly with his Emergency Atlas, which I am debating I could block it, but I choose to let it go through because the Goro is coming in with an attack that would steal 2 gigs, so I'd rather lose 1 gig than 2 gigs. So I'm going to block with Psycho Squad, but I'm going to be a little cheeky here, and I'm going to spend 2 eddies I have to play Reboot Optics. It's a quick hack program that prevents my blocker from being defeated in the combat. So thanks to having unspent eddies during his turn and Reboot Optics in my hand, I was able to successfully block the attack and withstand the damage that would have defeated my blocker. So he lives to block another day. Very good card, Reboot Optics. I love that card very much. It's one of the best programs in the game, and that play right there is the reason why. So now it is my turn. I drew, rolled a gig, and I'm debating what to do here. He is wide open here. I can easily kill that Goro that would turn into 10 power again during his turn if I so choose to. I do have to worry about his Goro Takamura legend though. I spend an Eddy and I call a legend and I get lucky and get V. So now if I can sell one more card, I can get V to the field and just wipe out his entire board pretty much. So I do sell an After Party at Lizzie's I had in my hand. And I'm spending all 5 Eddies I have to go solo with V. And I'm about to hit him back. Jackie's ability activates first, since V's the first blue unit I played this turn. I've reduced a gig value down to a min gig, so I get to draw a card. And at this stage, he remembered that he had to activate Yorinobu's ability during his last turn when he was attacking with the Arasaka units. So, it's a friendly casual game, so, I forget stuff, he lets me do it. He forgets stuff, I let him, no big deal here. So he's just drawing his card and then discarding one because he does not have 20 street cred. And going back to my attacks now, I'm having V take out his Goro Takamura. And then my Psycho squad is going to take out that Goro, who is significantly weaker. I need to get that thing out of here before it threatens to kill anything else on my board, because 10 power is too much for me to handle at this point. Evelyn, I'm going to swing with 2. She has 0 power, so she's not stealing a gig, but I get to draw a card with her ability. I had less street cred than him, so I get to draw a card thanks to Evelyn, and I do not have to discard one now. Alright, it goes to his turn now, and his board is hurting quite a bit. He had a lot of attackers on the board, but now all he has is the Emergency Atlas, so we'll see what he can do. I have a couple of big guys on my side of the field, so it's going to be difficult for him to make a comeback here, I think, just the way my board state is. And a lot of that has to do with the Reboot Optics play from a couple turns ago that kept my Psycho squad alive, and a little bit of luck calling V as the legend I called that turn. Alright, so he spends 3 Eddies to play Field Operator, and he draws a card because he has an even amount of street cred. He's going to sell Industrial Assembly. He's going to spend 1 to play an Industrial Assembly, increasing a gig's value, and he draws a card. He's spending 1 here to attach Mantis Blades to Emergency Atlas. Looked like he kind of spent 2 there, but only 1 of those should be spent. He's going to swing at me. It's got 8 power. He's going after my Psycho squad there, and it is defeated. Because he has Satori on it, he gets to draw a card. And he passes turn to me. So I draw, ready, roll my gigs, all that good stuff. So now his Atlas is equal in power to my V currently, but if I can get any gear equipped to her, I can easily just take that thing out in combat. I'm spending 2 Eddies here, and I have the equipment I need. I equip V with the flavorful Dying Knight V's pistol to increase her power to 10. So now I can easily take out the Emergency Atlas. Spending 3 eddies here now, and I'm going to play Dexter to the field. Now, Dexter has a cool ability that activates twice, once he's played and once he's attacking, and I get to adjust a gig by up to 1, friendly or rival. And if he's defeated, I get to draw 2 cards if the difference in street cred between us is 10 or more. So it could be higher street cred or lower, which that's not really going to come into play here, but I just wanted to get him on the board to have another attacker besides V, who I'm going to obviously use to destroy the Emergency Atlas in combat this turn. Evelyn I'm going to use to attack with first, just to get as much info as I can. I want to draw a card. Now, I probably could have attacked with her before I spent any eddies. That's probably going to be the right move to make, so that way you have the most information possible before you do your attacks. But I decided to just wait and spend her now. And there was something I missed during this, watching it back now. I had played Dying Night. That should have activated Jackie's ability to reduce a gig value. So technically should have reduced a gig by up to 2 and would have been able to draw a card, since I have several gig dice that are either a 3 or 2 right now, and I would have been able to draw a card. So that was a misplay by me, but you know, it happens sometimes. I didn't really think about it. I'm going to swing V now at his Emergency Atlas to take it out. And I end my turn here, and thanks to Dying Knight's ability, because it's equipped to V, I get to ready 2 eddies, so I'm ready to play a cheeky program during my rival's turn, if I so choose, or just call a legend. Alright, so he draws and rolls a gig die. He gets a very big roll here on his d20, a 15, so he's looking to top deck and over the edge that he could use to take out my V. That's probably the only thing he has in his deck that can take it out. He spends 2 to equip Satori to Field Operator. He spends a 3rd eddy to put Mantis Blades on it, so he's buffing this thing up as much as possible. And he is swinging at my gig area with the Field Operator. Yorinobu lets him draw a card, and he has over 20 street cred, so he gets to keep it. He steals a gig. And thanks to Yorinobu, he gets over the edge and takes out my V by spending 3. So, unfortunately for me, reminding him of Yorinobu caused my V to be destroyed. And that's alright. That's alright. He is threatening a victory here. He has 7 gigs. So, I need to take a gig here, otherwise I'm going to lose. Thankfully, I have Dexter, who has at least some power to steal gigs. So, turn goes to me. I ready and draw and roll my final gig of the game. I'm spending 2 to equip Dying Knight to Evelyn. And now she has power to steal gigs, and this point I remember to use the Jackie ability on this turn, so I reduce a gig by 2 and I get to draw a card. And now I have 2 attackers that can steal gigs, keep me in the game, keep them from winning. I sold a Kuroshi Optics. And I'm going to spend 2 eddies here to play a secondhand Bombus to the field to give me a blocker just to slow him down. I'm having Evelyn Parker attack him directly. He cannot do anything about it, so I steal a gig. And then I draw a card thanks to her attack ability. Dexter is attacking now. And his ability activates, so I'm adjusting a gig by 1. And I steal another gig. So now I have the potential to win my next turn if he cannot steal a gig from me. I pass the turn. I feel pretty confident here. I have 7 gigs, I have 1 blocker. He only has 1 attacker that he can do anything with, so the only thing that he can really do is to get past my blocker somehow in order to steal a gig and keep me from winning. Alright, so he spends 2 to play Corpo Security to the field. He spends 2 to put Satori onto Field Operator. And at this point, I think he's just trying to figure out if there's any play at all he can make to get over my Bombus here, because I'm just going to block that attack and prevent him from stealing a gig, and then it'll pass to my turn, and I'll win the game. So here's my Bombus, going in for the block, and I'm just going to be cheeky again to spend 2 more eddies to play Reboot Optics to protect the Bombus from being defeated. So he would technically still get to draw a card because he won the combat, but I won the game. So there it is, folks, the second game of the best of 3 match we were playing with the demo decks. I hope you enjoyed it. There were some things, mistakes made every now and again, but that's just how games work, you just gotta learn as you go, and you just keep getting better all the time. Thank you so much for watching. I do plan on making more videos like this soon. Our next meeting, we plan to use custom decks instead of just the demo deck, so we're both gonna bring our own creations to the table, and I've got a couple of decks in mind. I just don't know which one I should feature first, but be sure to stay tuned to find out. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.